Once again, from their most recent album, Striving Toward Oblivion, that was Comet. Now joining us from Vorga, please welcome Atlas, my friend. Am I pronouncing the band name correctly? Is that the preferred pronunciation for your band?
Vorga is fine.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
That's Corey. That's what we've been saying earlier. And I was like, nah, they're German, so it probably goes with the W, right? So, Atlas,
hmm
welcome, my friend. How you doing today?
Thank you very much. I'm good. Yeah, yeah. Like I was just saying just a second ago, it's a bit late here, so I'm a bit tired. But
Yeah.
apart from that, all good.
Well, thank you for staying up with us and coming on the show and everything like that. We've been really enjoying the album over the past couple of months that it's been out. So let's get in real quick, since this is everybody, or not everybody, but since a lot of people, whether they're watching this on demand or in the chat right now, first introduction to you guys. How did the project form, and I guess what's kind of the history and the story behind the band?
So basically, I started the band off myself when I'm English, by the way, if you couldn't work that out. Back in about 2015, back when I was living in the UK, I'd basically been playing guitar for so long and not doing anything with it that I thought it's about time I actually put a band together. So I wrote the tracks by myself over in the UK, and then I ended up moving over to Germany a couple of years later, where I started looking for band members. Once I'd written the first album already, so Radiant Gloom, that was already written, and it was just a case of putting the music out there and finding all the band members. So yeah, after that, Frank, our drummer, was the first one to join, along with our initial singer. Um, and then Peter, our vocalist, who we recruited to join on the bass to begin with.
Mm.
Um, it was only when our initial vocalist ended up leaving just before recording of the first record that I asked Peter to step up and do the vocals, and that's how he became our full-time vocalist. And then we did have a lead guitarist called Volker who recorded Radiant Gloom with us, who ended up leaving after the record was made. And then Peter switched from bass guitar and vocals to lead guitar and vocals, at which point we recruited Philip, our current bassist. And that's the lineup as it stands today for the last few years.
Oh yeah, so in a couple of years, the Wikipedia chart with all the timelines and everything is going to be all a little bit. But it's great to see that you guys are still continuing on and you're finding the right members for this band. I'm curious. So you were talking about Radiant Gloom, which came out in 2019. First real foray into the heavy metal sphere for you guys, and it was very well received. Put you guys in the ears of a lot of people. So when Striving Towards Oblivion came out, people were primed and ready for you. I'm curious, in your opinion, what was the biggest difference in recording Radiant Gloom versus Striving Towards Oblivion, and what do you think that you learned in that time?
In terms of the approach to recording, not a lot actually changed. I think we were quite happy with how we recorded Radiant Gloom. I mean, the mix definitely changed, but in terms of how we record, it didn't change a great deal. So we all record in our own kind of home studios as much as we can. And then for the drum tracks, we go to a professional recording studio to get them sounding great. And then it goes to our mixer at Black Art Audio to do the mixing work. So in terms of our actual approach to recording, we didn't change that much. We wanted to work on the mix, obviously, and I myself, as the songwriter and kind of putting the album together, I spent a lot more time kind of working on the album and thinking about the pacing of it and where the tracks should go and how they should feel even before writing them, just to make the whole album flow more, So working out where the high points are, the low points are, and just making it a kind of trying to make it as cohesive as possible.
So the sequencing was done like even before you were writing kind of the whole album. Is that what you were just saying?
The what was done
Like the
before.
sequencing of the album, the way you were writing, you said that you wanted like highs and lows of different stuff. So you were thinking about that even before the songs were written.
Absolutely, yeah. I kind of storyboarded the whole album out and kind of almost gave the tracks colors and feelings and that kind of thing, just to know, I want this song to hit and I want this song to take the tempo down a bit and I want this song to make you feel like this, just to try to, yeah, give it some kind of cohesion.
Yeah, I'm smiling because Corey knows that I love sequencing in albums and I love talking to people about that type of stuff. And
Cool.
now a lot of stuff is making sense. So before we can go ahead and talk about the album, but Corey, please step in here with the question.
Oh, no, you actually kind of answered my next question. And it was we were talking a little bit in the green room about the use of atmosphere in this album. I wouldn't call it an atmospheric black album, but or black metal album, but it does have like the right amount of atmosphere. Was that part of that storyboarding process where you wanted to have that kind of a feeling? Because it shows incredible restraint using it in the way that you've done it, to where it's just right to keep things engaging and flowing, and so was that part of that storyboard process?
I'd say honestly not so much. That comes down more to when I get to the songwriting itself and just the way I write. Yeah, it's difficult to put into terms how the writing of that comes across with adding the atmosphere. And yeah, it's hard to know where we fit in terms of black metal and atmospheric black metal and stuff. And honestly, I don't really care as long as people enjoy it. You know, it doesn't matter what we're doing.
And we do. All right, and John, did you have another question? Because I'm going to start going into the nitty gritty on things.
No, please do. All the questions that I have, we'll be able to get into the album and come out whenever.
All right, I wanted to talk a little bit about the lyrical themes, because on the album you discuss a lot of the hopelessness and the frustration that comes with wanting to change things that are corrupted. And at the same time, you guys have this kind of spacey, cosmic feel to you. How do you tie that subject matter of the celestial, but also this frustration and the inability to change things, and also kind of, it seems like the folly of man and the arrogance of man, tying that into this cosmic theme?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail pretty much right on the head there. That's kind of exactly what I was trying to do. I mean, the cosmic themes from my perspective is always about, I guess, the feeling when you're looking at the stars at night and that kind of existential feeling of just being insignificant, and trying to frame that around all the harm that we're doing to ourselves and the planet and each other and all the greed that's going on. Just having that perspective of realizing that in the grand scheme of things, all of this is fairly insignificant. Maybe we'd be a bit better to each other if people realize that a bit more. So it's trying to marry those two things and a lot of my own frustrations at things that are happening in the world and things like that. But that's kind of where the marriage tried to come together.
Awesome. And John,
yeah,
do you have a follow-up to that one? I
yeah,
don't want to step on you. I'm trying really hard not to step on you.
You kind of already did, because I was going to ask a very, very similar question to that, but I can modify it just a little bit while we're on this subject, because Atlas, I was going to ask about why you go with the cosmic themes and stuff like that, right? Which you just answered very well right there. So I'll posit another question for you, because I also have had those existential thoughts, right? Especially over the last 2 years, where you're staring up at your ceiling and be like, oh my God, we're all on just this spinning rock that is just hurling through space, and there's nothing that we could do if something were to just, a sun were to explode or something like that, right? These are the type of things that keep me up at night personally. But I'm curious, like, we've seen several bands, like Mare Cognitum comes to mind, really tackle this kind of cosmic, otherworldly, open, almost terrifying soundscape, landscape. Why do you think that black metal and the cosmos is kind of such a perfect mix? It's kind of like death metal and horror, right? It feels like over the last 10 years or so, black metal and space or the cosmos has really found a nice, perfect marriage. Why do you think that is?
I guess it's kind of like the final frontier for black metal, in my opinion. Like, I mean, obviously there's been a lot of focuses in previous generations, like the second wave and stuff, on anti-religious sentiments and stuff, and there's plenty of that in our music too, don't get me wrong, but in terms of existentialism and nihilism, the cosmos is just, I guess, an obvious point that hits those notes really well. I mean, I was also very much interested in kind of cosmic horror, and on the first record on Radiant Gloom, even like some of the lyrics, like on the Black Age and stuff, are more kind of themed around cosmic horror than they are around the kind of later stuff that I get into, which is more about religion and greed and power and corruption and that kind of stuff. But I had an interest in maybe trying to turn it into something more kind of cosmic horror-y, but veered away from that in the end.
Yeah,
well, it's all interesting topics.
It is great, right? Because like, which way are you going? Are you going aliens, or are you going just like gravity? Each of those things are fucking terrifying. Corey, did you have anything?
Oh, I actually had a follow-up. So on that whole feeling of insignificance, of looking at the stars, and like John said, with like if there was an asteroid or something, there's literally nothing we can do. Did that feeling kind of translate into the artwork, where you've got this kind of burning space station and looks like aliens in this like beautifully painted cosmic background? And really, if you were stuck out in space and someone blew up your spaceship, there's nothing you can do. Did that kind of feeling inspire that artwork?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Adam Burke, the guy that did the artwork, who's I think is absolutely fantastic.
We love him over here.
Great.
Yeah.
I gave him very little direction, but I said I wanted a burning space station, basically. It kind of tied into Last Transmission, one of the songs on the new record, which is kind of from the first person perspective of someone who's on a space station, which he is the only survivor of. And so I wanted it to tie in a little bit into the album, at least. So that's kind of where it came from.
It gave me like Event Horizon vibes of that like last transmission of something that is very horrible that has happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gave me those strong horror vibes.
Cool.
Yeah, shout out to Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne. Excellent movie.
Excellent.
The last question that I have for you, Atlas, isn't really related to the album itself, but it is related to just music in general. We are not fest over here, right? Brethren of Slipknot, as it were. I'm curious as far as what impact did Slipknot have on your musical journey, and what a follow-up to that is, what would you say are your foundational musical experiences as you've grown into the musician that you are today?
Yeah, both great questions. So, I mean, the first Slipknot record had a profound effect on me, definitely. I think I was 14 when it came out. And it was just at the right point where it hit me in the right way, I guess, because it led me kind of away from all the new metal that I was listening to and into more extreme metal, because it kind of, it did things that new metal wasn't necessarily doing, I guess. So it was, I mean, I absolutely loved that first Slipknot record to death, and I've got the VHS somewhere. That they once released once upon a time.
I remember that, my friend.
Yeah,
I think we wore that. I was in middle school when I first discovered Slipknot, and I think we wore it out to where you couldn't even watch the VHS anymore.
I think it was called like Welcome to Our Neighborhood or something like that. But anyway, that led me into more into death metal and more thrash metal and just kind of more extreme music, I guess. And then other things that kind of formed my musical tastes right now is, I guess, when I was kind of 16 to 18, I spent a lot of time with friends just listening to music in the evenings. And that's when I really kind of got my teeth into black metal, especially. I mean, we'd listen to all sorts, but it was a lot of second wave black metal, so all the classic stuff like Emperor and Satyricon and Enslaved and Immortal. And it was kind of around that time that I really just, got an affinity for the genre and kind of got stuck into it. So that kind of led me to where I am today, really.
Oh yeah, amazing cornerstones for a musical journey, in my opinion. Corey, do you want to take the very last question, assuming that the next question you have is the last one?
I have two that are extremely important and hard-hitting questions.
The floor is all yours.
Okay, the first one. And since this is, very cosmically inspired album, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh, that's tough. I guess I'd have to say Star Trek.
Oh, I have to go.
I was going to say split the Vorga fan base right down the middle.
I mean, if you'd asked me before all the new horrible films had come out, I would have said Star Wars, but it's been running.
Anyway. Fair. I will give you that. That is fair. And then the other one, and this is probably the most important question you will be asked in any interview ever. What is your favorite dinosaur?
Oh, Triceratops.
That is a good one, and we don't get that one very often.
And he didn't even hesitate, Corey.
No, it did not hesitate. So you know what that means? We need them to go on tour with the other Triceratops band. They're both black metal.
I don't remember which one that was.
Aporia.
Oh, yeah. That would be a good show. I'd go see Aporia and Vorga. Absolutely.
Yes, I would go to that show. So this needs to happen, and we need to have Triceratops merch for said tour.
Let's do it.
Fuck yeah. Atlas, is there anything else that you want to say to people watching this in the future, people watching this now, anything that you want them to take away from Striving Towards Oblivion?
Firstly, thank you. Thank you for you guys for having me on here. Thanks for all the support that we've had with the release. It's been absolutely overwhelming, and we didn't expect the success that we've had with the record, so it's been really great. If you haven't heard much of us, check us out. Put us on your playlists. Give us a shout on Facebook or Instagram or wherever else. And yeah, that's about it really. Thanks.
Hell yes, sums it up perfectly, everybody. This has been Atlas, guitarist from Vorga. I got that right this time. And their new album, Striving Towards Oblivion, is out right now via Transcending Obscurity Records. It is a hell of a time. Go listen to it and pretend that you're just floating through the cosmos, everybody. It is a good time. Atlas, thank you for joining us on Pulse of the Maggots today, man.